official changing of the guard in the NBA playoffs is here. LeBron James out after Jamal Murray basically hit two buzzer-beating shots in one of the closest five-game series you will ever see. Kevin Durant of the Phoenix Suns, who I always thought were flawed, the super team era of the NBA, is dead. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard came together in Milwaukee. The chemistry oddly never seemed to work. Both are injured. They are probably going to be gone tonight. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warrior dynasty has already been eliminated. Kawhi Leonard, once again hurt for the Los Angeles Clippers, even though James Harden and Paul George had a masterful performance in Game 4. Can the Clippers win 2 out of the next 3 against Dallas, Luka, and Kyrie? I think that's a very close series. I think it comes down to 7 games. But now we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who some people obviously think is the MVP of the league this year. I don't think he has the notoriety, though I thought he had a great season. I don't think he has the market star and the ability of a Luka Doncic yet. It was still sort of a baby bird. Or obviously Nikola Jokic to win MVP. You have Anthony Edwards, who I actually think has more marketability right now than Shea. He is becoming a rising star. And that Minnesota Denver series will be excellent. I think just because of Minnesota's size, they can give Denver a series. But as we saw last night in that Lakers Nuggets game, I thought the Lakers, by the way, who led for, over 70% of the time throughout the series and lost 4 out of 5 games, they dominated the first half in every game. But just like the Golden State Warriors, that team with Steph, Durant, Klay, Draymond in their prime, as I have compared this Denver Nuggets team to, they just own the third quarter. And sometimes it's not Jamal Murray. Sometimes it's not Nikola Jokic, who did not have a great first half last night. And Jamal Murray, really just kept them afloat. It's Michael Porter. It's KCP. It's Christian Braun. It's Aaron Gordon, who may not put up a lot of points some nights, but they make big shots. They make big defensive plays. And again, I don't think the Lakers are a horrible team. LeBron and AD, I thought had a great series. I thought Austin Reeves in 4 out of the 5 games, outside of Game 3, I thought Austin Reeves played well. D'Angelo Russell came on, of course, at the end of the series, though he had a horrible Game 1 and Game 3. Obviously, we know the Lakers don't have a bench. And as we're seeing, the number 1 seed Oklahoma City, the youngest team in the history of the NBA to get that number 1 seed, they have a bench and they have young star power. Then again, I don't think it's coming of age, but they have a bench. The Clippers, they have a Woodward of a bench, but they are led by James Harden, who has now turned into the point guard, Paul George, Zubats, Terrence Mann. They are just well coached by, of course, Tyronn Lue. You have Dallas, who I think is too Luka Kyrie dependent, but I think when you're going up against a Clipper team without Kawhi, that outside of Paul George doesn't have a ton of great wing defenders, and then you're going up against an Oklahoma City team that's really young, I think Luka would probably dominate that series. And so when you take a look here at the first round of, especially in the West here, Oklahoma City, New Orleans, best player in the series, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Clippers, Mavs, I would make the argument that with Kawhi Leonard hurt for most of the series, Luka Doncic, and probably is no matter what, right, the best player in the series. This is a changing of the guard in the NBA, and Anthony Edwards right now is better than Kevin Durant. I did not say that as we headed into this postseason because I said we needed to see it from Anthony Edwards, but I said he was right on the precipice, and he is clearly better than Kevin Durant, who Kevin Durant, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, has weirdly tarnished his legacy. Durant, after winning those 2 titles in Golden State and going to Brooklyn, and of course, nearly beating Milwaukee in that epic 7-game series where he was by himself essentially. Kyrie Irving was hurt, James Harden was out there on one leg. That felt like Kevin Durant's last hurrah. And Kevin Durant is a follower. He's not a leader. He has a lot of Kawhi Leonard qualities to him, and we've seen that now ever since obviously he left Golden State. And outside of Golden State, he has not won anything and has been to one NBA Finals. and he has not got past the first round in 3 years. So it's on to think about. And then LeBron, who up until 2021 was never eliminated from the first round, got first rounded. And I think the Lakers, to be honest with you, I think that they're better than Minnesota. I think they're better than the Clippers. I think they're better than Dallas. I think they're better than Oklahoma City. I think the only team they're not better than out west was Denver. I think at times, if they were able to close, they had Denver on the ropes, and that's even with their bench flaws because of how great LeBron and AD played in the series. But at the end of the day, when you have the reigning defending champions, you have to knock them out. And Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, I don't even think played their best in the series, but their role players played their role at the time they needed to be, and bam, just like that, it was over. Um, I think out east, obviously not having Giannis and not having Dame, detrimental to Milwaukee, who won game one and should have won game three, which would have completely flipped the series, in my opinion. But the fact that they did not close probably means that Milwaukee goes home tonight, and big questions arise here as we all, had expectations that they would either make the finals or at least make the conference finals this season, and injuries be damned, Milwaukee seems to be going home in the first round. The Sixers, Joel Embiid is seeming to have a lot of that Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant quality. I used to think Joel Embiid was a superstar. I no longer think that. He has the personality to be a superstar, um, but he's always hurt. And, for the first few years, you try to defend a guy that talented who, seemingly had some bad luck injuries. But at this point, it's not just bad luck, it just happens. And Joel Embiid cannot be counted on, and the Sixers roster is completely dependent on Joel Embiid. It reminds me a lot of the LeBron James Cavs teams, where LeBron would exit the court and they would just get blown off the floor. And nothing would say more to that than the 2018-2019 Cavs, who had the exact same roster that LeBron James took to that finals against the Golden State Warriors in the last of that 4-year rivalry, and the Cavaliers only won 18, 19 games that season. Um, I think Jalen Brunson's been the best player in the series. I think Jalen Brunson is becoming a superstar right before our very eyes. I think they would beat Indiana, who again cannot play like a defense. I think that's a bad matchup for the Pacers. I do think we are set on a Knicks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. Which, listen, Boston, yeah, Miami hit the 22 threes in game two. They obviously cannot replicate that in game three or game four. And without Jimmy Butler, that Miami team is a shell of himself. I mean, Derek White pretty much beat them by himself last night. Um, so I think we're really only down to two interesting series left in the first round of the playoffs. As I said, outside of a few Lakers Nuggets games and a few Sixers Knicks games, there hasn't been a lot of great games in these playoffs, a ton of blowouts. Um, and we're gonna have to see these new stars come to light. But now we have Orlando and Cleveland, my hometown Cavs tonight, which should not be a 2-2 series. At the very least, it should be 3-1 Cleveland. This series hasn't even been close. When you take a look at the final scores, Cleveland blowing Orlando out the first two games. Though I said they should have been by a lot more margins than they were. And Orlando did that to the Cavs in game three and game four, and they actually blew the Cavs out. And the Cavs are not well coached. We know this. I've been screaming from the rooftops. JB Bickerstaff is the worst coach in the history of Cleveland sports, and I've had a lot of them. And Donovan Mitchell has not been that guy that Jamal Murray has been to close series, to close games. Donovan Mitchell mysteriously disappears. Darius Garland mysteriously disappears. Evan Mobley all of a sudden is getting body bagged by Pablo Banchero, and this is a critical game five tonight, which might be the first close game in this series, which you would think would benefit the Cavs. Even though they have more experience than Orlando overall as a team, it's not by much. It's only a few games or so. Obviously, based off the Cavs getting annihilated by the Knicks, who I do think, by the way, closes out Philadelphia tonight. And then they have major questions about what they can do to move forward to improve that roster around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And dare I say, just like Phoenix here with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, which I always thought was a bad experiment. What do you do if you're Philly? Do you blow up Joel Embiid? Do you blow up Tyrese Maxey? Um, I think Cavs Magic is heading 7. I think with home court advantage, the Cavs should win. Clippers Mavs are heading 7. I'll stick to my original prediction of Clippers in 7, but admittedly, I don't feel great about it. It's more of a sticking with pride prediction, I think, because again, Luka Doncic is the best player in the series. Though I will say right now, my Western Conference Finals prediction of Dallas Denver, my Eastern Conference or excuse me, Clippers Denver / Dallas Denver. Whoever I thought won that series would knock off Oklahoma City in round 2 again. I just think the Thunder are too young. My also original prediction of Knicks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals is coming to fruition. And history in the NBA, I've said this multiple times. 2 teams since 1960 have been a 3 seed or below and have won the NBA championship. It was a 4 seed in 1960, Bill Russell's Boston Celtics, a 6 seed in 1995, Akeem Olajuwon's Houston Rockets, which that team was a 3 seed for most of the year until Akeem Olajuwon got hurt. And we're going to have a 3-2 matchup in the Western Conference semis. We're going to have either a 1-4 or a 1-5 matchup in the Western Conference semis, which seems to match up. Looks like we're going to have a 2-6 in the East, and then probably, a 1 versus a 4 or 5. The only real upset there being Indiana, who, again, I think the only reason why they won that series is because Dame and Giannis were hurt. But Giannis is out of the playoffs. LeBron is out of the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard is hurt and soon maybe out of the playoffs as a whole. Kevin Durant is out of the playoffs. The super team era is dead. The era of Anthony Edwards, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Nikola Jokic you can sort of throw in there as well. And obviously Victor Wembanyama, when he comes up, will dominate the league. But we'll see if these young stars can come about here. Can Tyrese Halliburton get his name? Can Pablo Banchero get his name in the headlines? We'll find that out over the next coming weeks. But again, overall, I think these NBA playoffs have been mostly duds outside of a few terrific games. Where that Lakers Nuggets series to me was a different level of basketball. Even though the Lakers lost 4 out of 5 games, it really did feel like they were close in every single game, and Denver just pulled away because they have the championship pedigree. When you watch that series and you watch a series like Boston, Miami, or Cleveland, Orlando, the competition isn't even close. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.